Hi folks, welcome to Radio FM 88. It's Dreaming the New Dream. I'm Jeffrey Shaw. Just below me is Andrena, my co-host, and then further below me again, across the border in New South Wales at 8 o'clock at night, all the way from Mullumbimby is Hannah Miles, who's our guest. And of course, for those who are watching the show, it's just to give you a heads up for telling people around the world. It's now 10 o'clock in the morning in the UK, where Andrena is, and at 10 o'clock over in New Zealand. So anyway, without further ado, we've got an interesting show tonight, and I think anybody who's been involved in health is going to jump on board with us. All right. Thank you. Take it away, Andrea.
Oh, hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, and wherever you are in the world. And if you're listening to a replay, I would like to welcome the lovely Hannah Miles, who's very into health, wellness, children, children's health, children's education. Oh my gosh, she's got so many strings to her bow. And I met Hannah, I'm just trying to work out how long ago. It must have been maybe 10 years. I don't know, it was because I've been back here a couple of years. So probably about 8 years, something like that. It was to do a meditation and numerology workshop or evening. And I remember we were at your house and you brought out Sepper afterwards. And I saw the most beautiful array of fruit salad or fruits, nuts and everything healthy. And it was so beautiful. I thought, wow. And I remember you shared that you and your family are all vegan. You've got two beautiful boys. I'm not sure, how old are they now?
10 and 11.
10 and 11. So I remember you have two beautiful boys, and they're very in tune, and they're real bright and just a wonderful example of how you've brought them up on really good health, and you've looked after every step of the way. So I would like to hand it over to you, and for you to start where you started on your journey of life that's taken you into this amazing journey of health and wellness.
Well, it's nice to be with everybody and to see you again. I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago. And we were doing a numerology course at our place, our little retreat. And I do actually love putting on a big spread for people, because my biggest passion is to show people how we can, one, meet all our nutritional needs through plants only, but also need for nothing and have a variety of tastes and experiences where, we can have tacos and raw pizza and everything we want, but just in a vibrant way. And I think what gets people the most excited is when I put these spreads on is how much color is there. And I think for me, what I do differently to a lot of nutritionists is I'm natural hygiene based, which is the science of nutrition and the body working on the natural body. So that comes with the thoughts and the ether and the energy of the body and the frequency. And so not only is it about plant food, it's about high frequency plant food. And actually that's the key, is food that is alive in enzymes, minerals. It's food that has a high frequency, fruits especially. And this helps us shed off the density of being here in this duality. And it helps us purge our bodies. And how I got to that, which is studying every type of nutrition you could possibly imagine, and trial and error of my own body, and like trying things in our family and seeing what worked and what gave us the optimum health, is that both of my children were born with a huge amount of health conditions. We're a neurodivergent family, so with what comes with a lot of autism and neurodiversity is also highly sensitive beings. And as we bring in a lot of light, we can also get quite trapped in the density of being here. So we needed something that would shed us of all that, shed us of the heavy metals and the toxins and the damage caused by, the environment we live in, the water, the air, the soils, everything. And I tried many different ways to chelate and to remove these things. And it was only until I went to high fruit, raw, alive food that everything started to suddenly go off, where we're like, oh, we're getting massive healing here. And then I kind of hit a bit of a plateau and then realized, oh, that's only the foundation. Nutrition is only one pillar. Actually, you know, we need to work on our energy field. We need to work on our energy hygiene. We need to work on our mindset, on our daily energy practices. And then when I brought all that in and I removed the trauma and we worked on the nervous system and settling the nervous system, then we get the next level and the next level. And so I'm dedicated as a mother to keep expanding my children's environment to make sure that they're getting, you know, everything they need, including a new journey of deschooling, which is more about training me than anything. Quite a journey.
I bet. So, because let me just trying to think how to put it. With doing vegan, because I know there's like a lot of people are vegetarian and then they move on to vegan. And I know like in certain countries, I know here the fruits and vegetables are nothing like what I got in Australia. And I was sharing the other day that the mangoes here are like, they're round and they're like green bullets. They're nothing like, so I did read somewhere that it's important to eat the fruits from the country that you live in. So like, obviously I'm in Somerset at the moment. So ideally we should be having apples from our own land and not from other countries. Do you find that that's the case?
Yeah, I mean, that's to do with the enzymes and minerals from the soil. So it goes into the kind of, you know, biodynamic theory, the Rudolf Steiner theory of, well, you know, if we're really in tune with ourselves and we're really in tune with the land that we live in, our seeds are going to give us everything that we need for our bodies and the fruits from our back garden. Well, that's in a really perfect world that we do not live in. You know, we're not in that environment. So we have to do the best that we've got. If you can't get high fruits and you can't get you know, I've done 9 years of going back to England in the winters and staying raw. I know what it's like to get fruits in different countries. It's not always the best. So you do the best you can. If you think about food from a frequency point of view, we always want to go for whole food, which is in its whole state. We want, like, and I really mean in its whole state. And olive oil is not in its whole state. It's been processed. It's been removed from the essence of what the food is. So if you want to eat a whole food, it would be the olive versus the olive oil, or the avocado versus the avocado oil, or the corn versus the corn meal. You want to be eating the whole food. Then you want to be eating as much alive, raw food as you possibly can. If that's not possible, obviously above ground is going to be the highest electromagnetic field. So your fruits, your herbs, your greens above ground. Then you need to pair that like a yin and yang with the food from the ground. So your starches, your root vegetables, your carrots and things like that are in the ground that take on those beautiful minerals. If it's not possible to eat high fruit, then you're going to be eating high vegetable. But your content needs to be high, alive food. If you do steam food or lightly cook it, keep it light. You know, keep it oil-free, salt-free, and light, because you want to get the enzymes, you want to get the energy. As you know, we are energy beings. We are light beings, and when we put dense things into our body, we have to transmute that. We have to work hard to get rid of that. And we are up against it in our environment. We're up against it with the air and the soils, and our food is not what it should be. And those of us that are lucky enough to have our veggie patch and grow our own, brilliant. But not everyone's able to do that. Not everyone can afford that either. To buy organic is ridiculous. It costs so much money. So we do our best. We buy the vegetables we can get. We treat them the best we can. We lightly steam them. We eat them raw. We eat them in their whole food state. We do what we can. And then we go down the cycle. We can activate our seeds and nuts. We can have alkaline grains. We can eat sprouted, germinated legumes and seeds. We can do our best down that line. It's not about perfect. It's about doing the best with whatever we can do and teaming up as well with the vibration. Like if you're eating a green salad that's perfect, but you're unhappy and you're in a, you're in a really negative environment with a negative relationship, I mean, that green salad's not going to touch the sides. If you're eating a cooked food that maybe is not as vibrant as a green salad, but you're eating it with beautiful people and your soul's happy and you're in a good vibration, then that's going to nourish you. Nourishment comes from way beyond just food. It's a whole holistic approach.
Right, I saw we had it flashed up about juicing. How much nutrients do we lose? So what would you say for people that are juicing? Because like there's so many people can add like quite a lot of things, and sometimes I think too much. You only need a few things rather than overloading with strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, and all of that. So what advice would you give on juicing?
Yeah, mono eating is very good when we're trying to settle the digestion. So if we've got a lot of inflammation and our digestion has switched off through vagus nerve damage, through overstimulation of the nervous system, through toxic buildup, through stress, environmental factors, all these things play a part, then our digestion is not going to be great. We need to take the pressure off the digestion by allowing it to settle. So mono eating is great. Just one or two foods for a couple of days can really switch the nervous system down. Juicing does that as well. The good thing about juicing and why it's so good for autism, for autistic kids that can be a little deficient and have a lot of gut problems, kids that might have EDS, kids that might have dysbiosis, their body cannot assimilate nutrients as well as it needs to. So juice is great because it's like a pack of like instant minerals and vitamins to the body without the body having to digest a lot, right? So it takes the energy off. How I like to use an analogy, if I can, it's a simple way of looking at it. If you're a worker on a conveyor belt and your job is to pack the boxes, and these boxes come quite steadily and you just start moving them one side or the other and you're quite okay at doing that, suddenly the boxes start speeding up and you just can't sort them, so you throw them behind you and just keep throwing them, but they keep coming, so you just keep throwing them. And then one day you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get to this storage box here. And then of course everything just piles up. But this is what it's like in the body when we don't detoxify and we keep having things put in. And what you need to do is stop the conveyor belt. You need to slow everything down so you've got time for your body to kick in and do what it needs to do. The body will always heal itself. It never attacks itself. It's only just swimming in toxicity. Once you remove that toxicity, it will do everything it needs to. It will heal itself. And juicing, water fasting, mono eating, great way of resetting. I will say, don't take it too far. Have a balance. Think of it like a roller coaster. Maintenance of nourishment, hyper nourishing, lots of greens, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables. And then a couple of days of juicing or fasting. And then hyper-nourish again, and then a little bit of cleansing, and then hyper-nourish again. Might be a spring cleanse you do. It might be a little, it might be a day a week that you do a water fast. Might be a day a week you do juicing, and the rest of the time you're hyper-nourishing, lots of greens. In this world, we don't need to take it too far. We're busy. Our nervous systems are already stretched.
Massively, yeah.
Yeah, especially right now.
Do you mix fruits with greens, or do you keep the combination separate?
So I am natural hygiene trained. I trained with Dr. Robert Morse and Dr. David Klein, and they work on sort of Herbert Shelton's work. And they're quite purists in their food combining. And I definitely think food combining is essential, because even if you're not ready to take out certain foods, if you combine the foods that you're eating well, you're going to get better digestion. If you take water away from food and only have water separately from food, you're going to get better digestion. If you eat mono food, say the food that you love is steak and potatoes, but you just eat steak and potato and you don't then have fancy sauces and all different things, your digestion is going to improve. So what's important is to make sure that you do food combine as much as you can. However, I've seen a lot of people that get really into health, they can slip down eating disorder patterns of getting too nitpicky. And I've been there myself where I'm like, oh, I must do everything perfect. If your mindset's not right, that's not helpful. So I actually find that because of two things, the fruit's not as high quality as it should be, even if I grow it in my own garden, because with just the environment we live in. Second is, so many of us have got years and years and years of toxicity, generations and generations of toxicity passed down. It's big. The child is born with 280 chemicals in the umbilical cord and about 220 particles, nanoparticles of plastic. We're already there before we've even been, before we've had the childhood diet put on us and the injections and everything else. We're already behind the 8 ball in that way. I don't mean to sound negative, but we have a lot of work to do. So what's important is to make sure we don't do anything too fast and too sudden, and we work with our own bodies. So there's this kind of level of support needed. And when you have greens with fruits, you do that. You support the adrenals, you support the digestion. So greens are really important. There are a lot of purists out there that are like, just fruit, just fruit. I personally have found with my clients, we need the minerals. It's all about packing in the minerals. So greens are really important. But I do combine, nothing gets eaten with fruit other than greens. So no veggies with fruits, no grains with fruits, no milks with fruits, nothing, no nuts and seeds with fruits, because fruits digest super fast. Watermelon is in and out of the stomach within 15 minutes. If you eat watermelon salad with walnuts and steak, the body's going to go, right, we're going to cope with the hardest digesting food here, 2 to 3 days to digest steak, right, we're going to work on that. And then what happens down the colon is the fruit gets backed up, or we have fruit salad after a big meal. The fruit can't be digested, so it ferments, and then the fruit gets blamed. I had a banana and I had a reaction. I had a strawberry and I had a reaction. Well, hang on, you've got backed up pipes here with food that's clogging and getting putrefied in the gut because it can't be digested fast enough. And you're blaming the banana. It's not the banana or the strawberry or the watermelon. It's the clogged pipes. It's the mucus plaque that's in the intestines that's been there for your whole life. That needs to be cleaned out. Once we clean that out, automatically the digestion functions. The enzymes are there. The beautiful synergy between the liver and the gallbladder and the kidneys start working, and the body digests and assimilates food beautifully as it should. We never have to heal the body. We just have to take the pressure off of it, give it a break to be able to heal itself.
Because I know when I eat anything, I sneeze within, it can be quite immediate, or it can be a couple hours later, and I know straight away, oh, well, that's what I've had. And it's like you say, it's like fine tuning your body, is finding the right things. And what I've enjoyed being back over here is it's collecting herbs, going up, near the tor and at the bottom, and getting stinging nettles, and then somebody's sharing about the seeds. Well, I didn't even think about seeds of stinging nettles, but how rich and really beneficial they are. So I've sort of gone along.
Teas and tinctures with as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. She sent me so much information.
Stinging nettles are really good as a natural antihistamine. So if you're sneezing, that's your mast cell activation. So that's your body kind of going, hang on a minute, we're a bit full. And again, we don't blame the last thing that goes in. We look at the, so it's a bit like looking at a tree and saying, well, hang on, this leaf isn't very good. Or we don't just spray that one leaf. We look at, okay, what's the soil like? Where's the environment? Are they getting enough sun and water? What's the positioning like? Are the roots able to spread enough? What's around that tree causing a problem? It's always the bigger picture. So if the body needs a little bit of cleansing, the organs or glands might need a little bit of supports from herbs, from more greens. Once that's been addressed, then the pot's not so full. I mean, this is what I do with working with autistic children. I make sure that their pot is empty, because if their pot's too full, then all of their beautiful gifts can't shine through. They're constantly in a state of reacting, like they're reacting to everything, and everything's heightened. Remember, I said that we're very sensitive people. I'm autistic myself. I live through it. It's like highly sensitive person all the time. The smells, the sounds, everything. So if my pot's full because I'm not eating well, because I'm not sleeping well, I'm not moving well, all of the things, everything's going to be more heightened. If I can lower my pot, if I can lower my kid's pot, making sure that my environment free from Wi-Fi, my environment's free from mold, my food is clean and simple, no salt, oil, sugars, stimulants of any sort, so my body's able to cleanse, my organs are functioning, my environment is not too stimulating, I'm not, I don't know, on social media too much, all the different things that sort of push your nervous system over the edge, then I can cope with life, I can thrive. And then my gifts or my children's gifts come through. And instead of it being something that it's challenging, it's like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hey, can I just ask you a really dumb question? Can you take the shortcut? Can you take the shortcut and go and see a colonic specialist? And
unfortunately, this is the thing that nobody ever wants to hear. There's no shortcut in cellular detoxification. I wish there was, and if I'd found it by now, I would have told everyone. There are things that can speed things up, and colonics are great. Colonics and enemas at home can definitely help pull things out. Black oxygen organic is really good at pulling stuff out of the bowel as well. Zeolite's good at pulling things out. Celery juice, these are great things to break down that biofilm and the mucus plaque in the bowel to allow it to come out. But this is another analogy that I like to use. You have a food dispenser under the sink and it's starting to back up. There's no amount of green juice or salad you can put on top of it that's going to fix the backup. You have to take it out, empty the pipes, clean it all out, put it back together again. Then the green juice is going to go through well. So there's no quick fix, but colonics are definitely great at getting like a mass amount out of the body faster. General enemas, even just lemon water, simple lemon water can be something, or fresh orange juice can be something that moves the bowels super fast.
Well, that's a lot easier than some of the other ways, eh?
Yeah. Sometimes, do you know what the thing is that I have found in all the years of coaching families is that actually nutrition is really simple, and people want fancy. They want fancy recipes and tell me how to do this. And I'm like, it's really simple. Here's your list of foods. Eat it very simply. Chop them, blend it, stick it on a plate. It's so simple. There's nothing that needs to be done. There's a few products here that might help you. I think people want it to be very complicated. And when you tell them how simple it is, sometimes it's like, oh, well, that just seems too hard. And it's like, it's actually really simple, So I think, there's a psyche around us now that we want a quick fix. We want it to be fast. The average time to heal from our environment and from our generations of being weaker and weaker is, sorry to say, about 3 years. Like, it's about 3 years. Sometimes people can do it in about 18 months. It depends if they go big on, big cleanses and do really long fasts and big cleanses if they're able to. Mother of 2 children on the spectrum, not possible. It's not possible. Slow and steady is much better. And what I've seen over the years as well is that people that go too fast too soon miss out on the minerals, and the minerals are essential, so essential. I saw a question there. What about vinegar? Vinegars are very acidic. They burn the cells. Very, very acidic. And I know Medical Medium does a great podcast on vinegar. You should listen to that. It's brilliant. It's just acidic, and it burns, and it creates a whole problem with the gallbladder juice. Anything that's stimulating, and this is where I become very unpopular. Chili stimulating, eggplant toxic, onions and garlic incredibly toxic, and this is where I'm going to lose a lot of people. Chocolate cacao, really acidic, a neurotoxin. Any of these things are all stimulating. Now, when you clear your system a little bit here and there, no problem, right? You can cope with it. When that conveyor belt is so busy and you're jumping your boxes at the back, you've got to take all the stimulation. I've got to make it really simple. You know, when I say to someone, hey, chop up a mango and a banana and that's your breakfast, they're like, oh, well, what else is there? There must be a recipe. It's like, chop up some fruit. It's really simple.
Yeah, I like your analogy of building things up and, you know, the blockage. And I remember I went to a talk in the UK, oh gosh, about 20 years ago, and she was a colonic expert. And, you know, we saw all these pictures of different colons and and especially for meat eaters, because she said that meat stayed in the body, I think, for weeks. I can't remember now because it's so long ago, but it just doesn't break down. So, you know, you've got that horrible buildup of toxicity lying in your body, haven't you?
Yeah, it's not a popular subject because, you know, I've really moved away from sort of the whole veganism thing, because really for me it's about frequency of food. Because, you know, you could get incredibly unhealthy vegans that eat highly processed toxic food. So for me, it's about frequency of food, aliveness of food, and enzymes and minerals. That's more where I sit. In regards to meat, the way I see it is that, you know, this is the biggest question we get asked, you know, where do you get your protein from? And I teach a lot of kids. So I break it down as simple as possible. If I was to ask you to build a house and I was to give you all the raw materials, or I was to give you a house and ask you to destroy the house to get the material to buy your to build your new house, destroying that house, breaking it apart, breaking it all down to then build a new house would be incredibly exhausting on you as a physical person. It's the same thing. When we eat protein that's already been made by that cow's body to become a protein strand, our body has to break that protein strand down to make it into amino acids that's bioavailable for our body. So instead, we eat the plant. All plants except for lychees have amino acids in them. The amino acids are the building block for our clever body to be able to build protein strands that are bioavailable and are unique for our body. So if we're taking that plant is the innate intelligence of that plant. It's sucked up all the sodium and magnesium from the plant, from the soil. It sucked up the iron from the soil. It sucked up everything. And that plant has got essential oils that have a pack of information. Its electromagnetic field has got information for our cells. We eat that food, that information gets transmuted by our cells and our energy, and it gets broken down to become protein strands for our individual body. When we're eating someone else's protein that's gone through a cycle for their body, it automatically puts a lot of pressure on our body. It puts a lot of pressure on our digestion, on our adrenals, on our liver. And then, not only because our bodies aren't designed to digest this meat and dairy from another animal, it sits in our system for, like you say, a long, long time. So when we eat plants that we can then get the information from that work for us. But saying that, everybody's at a different stage, and I never get anyone to go faster than they need to go. You're better to increase your fruits and vegetables and have your protein from animals for a while until you're ready to let go of that and move in more fruits and vegetables. Staging is so important. You need to think about hyper nourishment. Is your food alive? Is it alive? Is it cooked to death and covered in oil and salt and seasoning? Or is it alive? Is it whole? And I'm really whole in its state. It has not been processed in any way. No oil, no flours, completely whole food. And is it high vibrational? Answer yourself that, and that's the 3 keys where you can never go wrong in nutrition.
And the thing is, when you say, is your food dead, how long has it been dead?
Yeah. But even plant food can be dead, right? Because we can take an apple and we can deep fry that apple or dry that apple out, and we can season it and package it and stick it on a shelf for a couple of years. It might be an apple at the start, but it's lost all its frequency. It's no longer life. It's no longer vibrancy. And our body, I like to think of our body like a barcode, right? In the supermarket, it's reading everything. It reads you. It reads people. It reads the room. You know, we're constantly reading things. If there's no life there, it's going to go, well, that's just a hindrance.
Right. Somebody's asking about washing your fruit and veg. Now, I read about hydrogen peroxide food grade to soak all your vegetables in that as opposed to vinegar. So what are your thoughts on peroxide?
Yeah, there's a few things. There's veggie washes, there's apple cider vinegars. I do wash some things. I wash them just before eating because I found that if you wash food and then put it in the fridge, it just rots it too quickly. A lot of my food, it just like it's organic already, so I just rinse a lot of things off. I think, you know, the hydrogen peroxide, as long as you rinse it very well, and know about the dirty dozen as well, you know about the ones, and the dirty dozen changes in each country. So some are worse than others. So you always check in your own country what the dirty dozen is.
All right. So could you enlighten us then for Australia? What is your dirty dozen?
Will I remember them all off my head?
I've not heard of it before. So this is another.
Lettuces, yeah, cucumbers, zucchini, lettuces, strawberries. What else have we got on there? Peaches, nectarines. Trying to think of my list, which I can post up afterwards for you. Things like bananas, avocados, things that have got like rock melons. They've got a harder skin. They're going to be less penetrated by the chemicals. So there's certain food that we don't buy organic for that reason, or there's certain food that it might be like low spray and we'll buy because we can peel off a skin. Now traces are going to get through, of course. And there's been studies that have been done on organic food that still shows there's a level of chemical residue because of the soils, because of what they put in our air. It's kind of inevitable. And that's where the mindset comes in. We can't aim for perfection, only progress and only doing our best. But bicarb water, that's a really good one and a really simple one. And it's affordable, right? We don't want to be going around paying $20 for veggie washes when we can get bicarb and do that. Yeah.
What about, because I know, you know, the little pH strips, and I know I was a bit too acidic, which I'm addressing, as somebody said to take the apple cider vinegar in hot water or first thing in the morning. So I've been doing that, but I've done it like for so many days, but then it's like celery juice. I can do it for a couple of times and then it doesn't sit well in my stomach.
Well, so it's interesting. There's two things there. One is the apple cider vinegar is very acidic, and that's a bit of an old wives' tale kind of myth. That again, Medical Medium, if you watch his podcast, he really breaks it down brilliantly, and you know, a lot of natural hygienists do as well, which is basically that it's acidic. It's like Kangen water, very acidic. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are touting health things that aren't really health things because they sell, or because, I don't know, that they're not understanding how the body truly works. In regards to celery juice, it's very alkaline, but what it does is the hydrochloric acid naturally in the celery juice binds to the junctures of the gut. So if you've got leaky gut, it will bind to those junctures. So it'll make you kind of feel a little unwell before you get better, because it's building the natural bile back up in your body. It's creating enzymes. So this is part of healing where people stop. I'll put them on a cleanse. I'll help them, you know, with their diet, and then they'll get this healing crisis. And you'll know this in energy medicine as well, right? And then we're so used to wanting to feel good, and we're so used to numbing ourselves that when we go through a healing crisis, we stop. We go, I can't do this. This is too much. I feel too bad. And if I haven't actually sent them to you, but I can show you some of my clients who come to me with severe eczema, head to toe severe eczema. And the stages of before it gets better looks worse. It looks like it's weeping. It looks terrible. And they go, oh, what's happening? What's happening? And I'm like, it's okay. We're going to go through this. This is part of what I do. It's not the information. It's actually holding them through these healing crises. And then boom, they come out the other side and they get the healing. It's taking people at that pinnacle point. It's the same when we release trauma, or when we do our inner work, or we do our energy work. It feels like everything's falling apart, everything's purging, and we stop, or we say, this is too much, I can't do this. But it's that sweet point that we then get, what's the other side of it?
Oh, good. I'm on the edge then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's up to you. Do your research. I always ask everyone to do their research. I never recommend anyone follow my advice without researching for themselves. Check out the medical medium for his work on vinegars, but and oils as well, and Dr. Goldhammer on why we don't have oils, why we have whole foods and not processed oils, why we don't have salt. Do this research. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff in my personal group. Salt, for instance, we are designed to eat sodium. We're designed, our body needs sodium. But again, like the protein, when we're having something that's in concentrated form, it becomes a toxic on the body. It becomes, another neurotoxin. So when that celery, which is a high sodium vegetable, when that celery sucks up the sodium from the ground, it's filtering it. It's innate intelligence again, it's filtering it. And then we're eating the celery and we're getting bioavailable sodium that our body goes, brilliant. We've got the magnesium and the sodium, we've got everything we need. We're going to take it and do what we need to do with it. And we've got a concentrated form of sugar, concentrated form of salt, concentrated form of a fat without the fiber of the whole food avocado or coconut or olive or nut or seed. Our body has to work super hard to dilute that and make it bioavailable. So we want to eat the whole food, the original source of it. Again, if you look at vinegar, it's been highly processed and it's incredibly acidic. When you look and research about acidic and alkaline food, you need to look at the ash residue. It's not about is it acidic or not, because a lemon is acidic, but when it gets into the stomach, it becomes an alkaline ash, which is incredibly detoxifying because it's astringent, so it will break down that biofilm and pull things out of the body. Very different to it. So you would be better to wake up in the morning and have lemon water, a little bit of celery juice if you can cope with it. If you can't cope with it, have some cucumber juice or some green juice, a couple of herbal teas, and then you're hydrating the body. We start with the most hydrating foods at the beginning of the day. We want to hydrate ourselves after sleep. We have the fruits, the waters in the middle of the beginning of the day, and then we then go into the more denser foods in the evening. So if you don't want to be fully raw, you have your denser foods in the evening, optimal food combining.
Somebody said to get Celtic salt. It's got all the minerals in. That's the best one to get. Your thoughts on
all salt? I'm afraid to say all salts, and it's challenging. It's challenging when we hear something that's against the grain. It is challenging. Yes, they have minerals, but they're very concentrated minerals that might not be right for our body, that have not been filtered through our body. So yes, Himalayan salt has 88 minerals. It's not how our body works. We don't have that concentrated. Now, people always bring up, well, what about the elephants that travel across to get the salt? They're getting a concentrated form because they're not getting enough from their plants. We're able to get enough from our plants, which is why we have a variety of plants as well. Now, a lot of people also say with salt, because I've heard it all, right? I've been around the world. They say, what about my adrenals? My adrenals are flat without it. I have to have it. I get so tired without salt. Well, it's a stimulant. It's literally like putting your foot on the pedal of a car constantly. Cacao, coffee, salt, sugar, highly stimulating for the brain. It absolutely trashes the adrenals. And then what happens is when you don't have salt, you actually see how trashed your adrenals are, how stretched your nervous system is. And then, of course, you crash, and then you have your coffee again or your salt and sugar, and you say, see, much better now. Look, I needed it. I needed my meat. I needed my stimulation from my meat. I needed my stimulation from my salt or sugar. But what you need to look at, again, we're not looking at the leaf, we're looking at the foundation. Well, why are my adrenals so crashed that if I don't have my general toxicity every single day, what happens to me? You then use herbs. essential oil, cleansing, bioresonance machines, energy medicine to build up your adrenals again. You make sure that your body's got enough healthy glucose from fruits. That's the energy in the mitochondria. That's where you get your energy from in your cells, so that you're not in that boom bust of, oh my God, if I don't have my coffee, I feel like this, and then I don't have my coffee, and then I it's too much for the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I just want to take the subject when you say you eating dead food or alive food. And the indigenous people from North America, I mean, they always ask for permission either from the animal or from a tree or something if they're going to make a wig, teepee or whatever. Are you, in the sense of when you pluck your fruit or vegetables, do you actually go and ask them to give up their life, I suppose, or do a little prayer or blessing or something before you pull them out of the ground or whatever, or take them off the tree?
That's a great question. I'm certainly not of the of the school of thought that we're murdering plants when we pick plants. I think that takes it to the extreme. Although I have seen studies that were so fascinating. They had a big tunnel divided into 3 with all the same plants in each three divisional parts of the tunnel, and they sent a guy with a white coat in and glasses, and he trashed the first part of the tunnel. They're all divided away, you can't see in between each section, and he absolutely massacred all the plants. And then they had them all on forgive me for not knowing what it would be called, like a machine to the frequency of the plant, right, of the sensing on the plant, and they like registered it all, and the plants were obviously like erratic and in distress. And then they put a different man with the same coat and glasses and put him into the next section, and the plants automatically all sort of shriveled up and shrieked out because they had communicated between them. And there's also studies about how trees communicate between them. However, there's a synergy of life that, we're picking a plant that's designed for our bodies to eat. And yes, I honor the plant. I don't honor it as in if it's like a real living creature, but I do honor, like I have a mandarin tree that is abundant. I mean, it's ridiculous, more orange than green. And I'm like, oh, I love you so much. And I really appreciate, and with gratitude, this tree feeds my family. Or my veggie patch, like I'm so proud of myself for keeping plants alive because I've got a black finger. But so I do, and I honor everything that I eat. And I also done a lot of work around intention and blessing of food and how we can communicate with our food. There's even simple, Dr. Emoto's work around the resonance of water. Well, there's studies that have taken it further. Not only do you put the vibration into the water, but you can put intention onto that water. This is why we talk about high frequency food. The food in fruits and the frequency in fruits and vegetables is high frequency, high electromagnetic field because it has water in it, because it's still got the water in it. If you're baking it in the oven for 4 hours and you're deep frying it, you're taking all the hydration out. We need hydration. That's why it's alive, because it's got water, it's got minerals, it's got frequency. So yes, talking to your plants can make them grow. Appreciation. You can get into a state of honoring the food you're just about to make, enjoying making it, having it with people you love, eating it mindfully. You're going to get a lot more nutrients than just inhaling it really quickly, stressed and thinking about other things, not chewing properly. We need the saliva to start breaking down the enzymes to actually register with our cells what's coming in and how we're going to digest it, and to prepare the juices in the stomach for digestion. When we inhale food that is high calorie but low nutrients, like a hamburger or a Mars bar or popcorn or something, which is high calorie, high stimulant for the brain, and doesn't fill the stomach up, so it doesn't push the stress receptors of the stomach like a big salad would, where you feel really full, but it's high nutrients. So it's giving the body everything it needs, as opposed to that little hamburger that's low nutrient density, low vibration, but incredibly stimulating. And what it does is once it stimulates the brain, this is called the pleasure trap. You could look up Dr. Goldhammer's work on the pleasure trap. What happens is it stimulates the brain, and then of course you get all the hits, the dopamine hits, serotonin hits, but then the stomach's going, oh yeah, but I'm not full. What's next? What's next? Where's my food coming from? I haven't got any of my nutrients, and you haven't pushed the stress receptors. So then after the hamburger, you want something else. And then you want that hit of dopamine again. So after the hamburger, you have the chocolate. And then after the chocolate, you then want the salt again, because you're on this pleasure trap cycle. Instead of having a massive salad or a massive bowl of steamed veggies or a big smoothie or a big fruit salad or half a watermelon, and your stress receptors have been kicked in, plus it's high nutrients, high energy, high vibration, plus it's pulling everything out of the system, the body goes, right, totally satisfied.
Hey, just coming back to my subject about saying a prayer or something. Hey, back in the 60s, there was an experiment taking place, and they sent it all across America, and they got 3 aspects to the experiment. One was seeds they're all in the dirt. The first one was they couldn't say anything. That was the control experiment. The next one was to say, you're not going to amount to anything, you know. And the other one was, I love you, you're going to do really well, and so forth. And when they brought in all the experiments, the ones that were told they weren't going to account to anything, there was 1 or 2 that were at the height of the ones that were told they're going to be wonderful. And they all came from grandmothers. Yeah. And the scenario, when they got to the grandmothers, said, now, did you follow our instructions? Yeah. Now, come on. What did you do with the ones that you said they weren't going to amount to anything? Oh, yeah, you know, but I would say to them, look, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but I love you anyway. Yeah. So it showed you how positive it is. Now, I just want to take it a bit further.
Our intention is so important. Our intention behind our food is so important. Our intention behind our energy, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we act on each day, which is why we never aim for perfection in nutrition, because if we can, then great. Hats off to everybody. But if not, then we don't want to beat ourselves up. We don't want that pressure of going, oh my God, I said I was going to no, like when I guide someone through a juice cleanse, I never put a date on it. They're like, I want to do 7 days. No, we're going to do a day, and then we're going to see. And then we're going to do another day, and then we're going to see. Because as soon as you put that demand on yourself to reach 7 days or 14 days, you then set yourself up for, well, if you don't do that, you've automatically made yourself wrong. So if you set yourself an intention of, well, something I do is crowding out. We're not going to take anything out of your diet. We're not going to change your diet at all. But what we're going to do is we're going to aim to food combine as best as we can. And then we're going to aim to crowd out. So if you want your coffee, have a big bowl of fruit first and see if you still want your coffee. You want your chocolate at the end of the day, have a couple of dates first, then see if you want your chocolate. You know what I mean? Like you crowd out with healthy food so you don't have the space for the other food, but you never tell yourself not to have the other food, because then you're putting such a pressure on yourself, and we have enough pressure in our world as it is.
Don't we just?
Hey, I went to years ago to Brazil to see John of God and how he operated, and one particular morning there, I watched this group that came in from America, and they had a Brazilian guide, and their job was to prepare lunch, and it was going to be a vegetable salad. And I was quite gobsmacked because they got all the vegetables and they put in a huge big pile, and then they got gathered around and they held hands, and then they did this blessing. And then once they'd done the blessing, then they set about peeling it all and getting into the big pots. And they put in the pots, then the Brazilians took over and they did this almighty prayer in Portuguese and Spanish and English. Anyway, so when it came time for the lunch, and I'm thinking to myself, I'll get my little bowl, and I felt like Oliver Twist, I'm going to go back for more. And I have to tell you, it was the most wholesome, filling soup that I've ever had in my life. And I mean, I probably had 20 bloody dessert spoons, and I finished the bowl, and I was absolutely full of just so much, I'm going to say love. That's the best word I'm going to say. It was absolutely amazing.
A bowl full of vibration.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. And you can totally do that with everything you eat. You know, this is something I do with a lot of clients if they're traveling and they can't get their normal standard of food. Well, then bless the food that you've got. You know, put that energy into, I mean, we're such powerful beings and we forget how powerful we are. We can overcome that. We can transmute as much as possible. We can put that power in. A way that I help people find love for themselves if they're very low self-esteem, which I have been most of my life until recently, is to hold a glass of water, pour all the love for your child, your grandchild, your best friend, a dog, whatever, into that glass. You pour all that love in, you think about that, you pour that vibration in, and you feel the memory of your favorite holiday or your favorite experience or your favorite person or whatever you, and you're changing the frequency, you're changing the vibration of that water cell and that water molecule, and then that's going into your cells. It's a way of turning the love inwards on yourself, and you can do that with all the food you eat.
It's being mindful as well of everything you do, isn't it? You know, I mean, like when I'm cutting nettles, I go up and I just say permission to cut some nettles, and then I'm snipping away and I go, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
When I help myself to an apple off the tree, I go, thank you, apple tree, for your abundance. And, you know, I've gone past worrying if people hear me thanking nature. But it is like the water. I mean, I always bless my food. I've done it for years. You know, it's the first thing I do. And like my water, little things like that, because it's just being mindful and it's helping your body. But I don't know if you ever read the Ringing Cedar series with Anastasia. Now, I can't remember exactly. Jeff might remember, but she says to when you got, say, seeds of a plant, say your tomato plant, that you actually put them in your tongue. And I can't remember, was it for
9 minutes?
9 minutes. I thought it was 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And then when you plant them, that plant has all the DNA of that it gives you. So I thought, you know, that's a powerful thing to do.
Yeah, but don't forget that big
I'm trying to do that when I plant my seeds. It's your bioavailability. It's your communication with the plant, and that's why we were talking at the beginning about, you know, eating from your local area if you can, because it's got everything like if you're in a tropical climate, you're going to be wanting to eat tropical food. If you're in a cooler climate, you're going to be wanting to eat more grounding, earthing foods. It does change, and eating to the seasons. Like we stay predominantly high raw in winter, but it's never sort of totally rigid, right? If we want to have a beautiful soup, it's always oil and salt free, but we'll make a beautiful soup, or we'll make roast vegetables without oil. Always, that's our foundation: oil, salt, sugar, grain-free, whole foods. But we'll make it, and it'll be nourishing because it's from the ground. It's the minerals we need. It's cooked in a certain way. Like, it's never about being, that rigid. Listening to your body, listening to your cells, and also communicating with your cells. Like you were saying there about talking and communicating with the seed. It's the same thing. We can wake up in the morning and ask our bodies, what do we need today? What is it that we're after today? Is it more? And we might have set our intention of having a raw day or having a juice day. And if we wake up in the morning and the body says, you know what, I just want soup all day. Well, then we have to listen to our body and say, my body knows best. I mean, not when the body's asking for McDonald's and within reason.
Hey, I'm just going to step in there. There's a great story happened about 18 years ago here in Gold Coast, and the gentleman concerned was the national marketing manager for a frozen food company. And what happened was he used to bring home the family. He used to bring home the products for the home, and the wife would throw it straight in the deep freeze because frozen food, and then she would put it in a microwave to thaw it out, defrost it, and cook it. Anyway, and that was the main meal as well as the desserts. So anyway, one Saturday he was washing the car and he collapsed. By the time they got the paramedics there, he died. So when the paramedics looked at the wife and they got the kids around, they took them to hospital as well, and they put them on the drip. I mean, it turned out that the husband had died of malnutrition. And the only reason that the kids were saved and the wife was saved, that she used to go off during the week for a lunch with the girls and have a salad. And the kids used to go to school with either, sandwiches and some fruit. And they used to knock off, come back to their friend's place and have some other fruit. Yeah, but the husband actually died of malnutrition because he was just eating dead food. Mm-hmm. So that was a subject you brought up before. And I thought I'll just wait to the appropriate time and bring that subject up. How, and over there in the UK, when they had Meals on Wheels, they decided to give every pensioner a microwave, and then they bought these frozen foods that they could cook at home. No nutrition value at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally believe that. The amount of clients over the years that they're like, but I do all these things, I eat all these things, and they're malnutrition. They've got huge deficiencies. And it's the ability to not only receive food in that has nutrients, but also to be able to assimilate it and eliminate it. Your elimination pathways must be open, and your adrenals and kidneys must be able to assimilate as well. So if we're having food that's void of nutrients and we have natural deficiencies and the ability, an inability to assimilate, we're screwed. We're screwed. We have to make sure that the food that's going in is the highest quality food we can personally find. And that changes depending on where we are in the world. And there are people that have to bulk that up with other things because, they don't live in the tropics, like they don't have the abundance of fruits and vegetables. So you build it up in different ways. But you're like, the biggest thing is like, is this high mineral? Is this giving me like my bang for my buck, Am I getting as much nutrients when I eat this food? I call it hyper-nourishing. Am I hyper-nourishing my body? Or is it dead and void of, and I don't mean cereal that's been fortified. That is not nutrition. That is not nutrition. That is chemistry. That is a toxic synthetic supplementation, which is big pharma. And that is not nutrition.
Hey, on the weekend up here in Brisbane, we had the Tiny Homes Expo on the Saturday, Sunday. I went along on the Sunday, and a lady came from Gympie, and she was a really interesting subject because she had hay bales, and she had mushroom compost, and she had cow poo, and she was actually explaining that those three compositions and putting them together, you really got great vegetables. And I actually mentioned to her, why can't you use horse poo or bloody chicken poo? No. Telling you now, cow poo is the best. Yeah.
I've heard this as well. I've just recently, we've got an app. I mean, you know, Andrena, you remember it, but we've got an amazing community gardens in Mullumbimby. Brilliant. And they give so much free advice. And I went to one of the free seedling courses, and also a free syntropic, like learning about syntropic gardening, which is like a level above biodynamic. And yeah, she said the same thing. She's like, only cow, like sheep too acidic, horse is not right, it's got to be cow. And taught us how to make our own compost and our own potting mix. And it's like, it's such an art to get all the goodness that you need to make these like this amazing seedling mix. And yeah, it's such an, I mean, it's quite new to me. I'm a new gardener, and I'm sort of learning that it's a lot to get the soil to be good.
What was I going to say? You talking about Mullumbimby now. I know when we spoke in the week, you shared how the farmers have set up a website. So I'll get you to quote, but that anybody that wants to get, if there's like they've got a load of carrots, they can go on the internet and order them or go and pick them up. And you also shared about for teachers that have chosen not to be jabbed, you're setting up a school. Excuse me. You're setting up a school for. So would you like to share more on that? Because that was fabulous what you were sharing. I thought this is what we want: more community, more people working together for the greater good.
Yeah, I'd love to, because it's my passion at the moment. One of my passions is unplugging people from the matrix, and it starts with food and energy awareness, because that's like the thing that trickles everything out, but it's not always done like that. Yes, I'm in Mullumbimby, Helen. Yeah,
On your doorstep.
so what I'm focusing on at the moment is that I'm done. I've been an activist for years and years, and I'm done with trying to fix a system that never served us, that never had our best interest at heart, and that is of a dark energy. I just don't want to do that anymore. So as much as I have tried to do, you know, all the different things without trying to save anyone and all that normal stuff, I want to put all of my effort into creating and visioning an environment that my children can grow up into that serves us. So at the moment, we're trying to really, you know, help our teachers at our local Steiner school, which is being forced to get the vaccination. And the conversations we're having is, okay, so if we can't quite save this, we can't quite get this into the way we need it to be, because it's losing the, and I struggle with this word, anthropothecal way, which is the Rudolf Steiner's philosophy, then let's create our own. So we've been having conversations around, what does that look like? We need land, we need this, we need, you know, and I've actually pulled my children out of the schooling system completely to de-school them. And I found they have thrived. Now, I was stuck in my limitations. Can I do this? Oh my God, I'm going to be with them all the time. And how will that cope? And how will I run my business? As soon as I broke out of my own limiting beliefs and actually saw that everything is school, and that actually I'm fighting against this system, and then why am I still keeping my kids in it? That's just ludicrous.
Yeah.
I need to fully exit them out and let them be whoever they want to be, with no limitations and no expectations on them. And they have completely thrived. And I already thought I was out of the system. I already thought I was pretty unplugged. And this whole situation has unplugged me even bigger. And it's been great. And there are people in our community that are doing brilliant things, like it's still in the process of being set up. It's a website where the farmers can say, right, well, we have an abundance of carrots or pumpkins or whatever, and you can pick up from the farm gate, and you can get direct from the farmers. There's, in our local area, there's amazing boxes, veggie boxes that you can pick up on a Tuesday or Wednesday that are just abundant and so cheap. Like, when you realize what you pay when you go direct versus from a supermarket, it's like, it upsets you, because you're like, oh my God, it's so cheap to feed my family well. We also have a co-op system in our community gardens where, again, there's no overheads. We don't pay anyone wages. The overheads are really low. So of course the produce is a really good price because we're paying direct for it. And I mean, there's so many amazing things happening, and I'm hearing friends in Spain or Portugal or America and Canada and England, they've all got these kind of projects that they're bringing forth. And this is the time. This is where our focus, I believe, needs to be. Let's not try and get angry or fix a system that never served us. What are we doing to envision a new way? What are we doing to dream a new way?
Exactly. Dreaming the new dream.
Dreaming the new dream.
Yeah.
Got a slogan in there.
I did think of something then, it's just popped out. Oh yeah, I know. So there's lots of people listening that, and I know for myself, you talking about greens and all that, and I was thinking, yeah, you know, I need to stop doing that, and I need to be more aware than I have been. And coming from Australia to here was like massive for my digestive system. So that's been still work in progress. But what would you advise people would be a good way to start to, because you are what you eat, and it doesn't matter what people say, it's what you put in that relates to your health, your feelings, your emotions, and all of these things. So for me, I'm thinking, right, I'm going to start on the lemon juice and water in the mornings as opposed to anything else, and give that a try. And so for people that are looking at new ways to improve their health, what basic tips would you like? Say for the lemon juice is one. What else would you say to start cutting away some of the packaged processed stuff, you know, this full of chemicals and things? Because also it's being aware of the labels. You know, when I look at the labels, like it says carbs and then sugars, and I did have a booklet that that went through all the different meanings of what they were on the package, because half the time you look at a package and you haven't got a clue what all of these things mean. I mean, I'm aware of like, you know, like aspartame. I see that people still drink canned drinks with aspartame in. And I think, but that's a poison. A lot of people don't choose not to drink the tap water. They think it's all right, but it's not, you know? So it's, you know, like maybe getting a water filter is one for your water. You know, that's not always the best, but it's a stepping stone. So what little stepping stones would you like to share?
Great question. Well, the stepping stones is the key, right? It's taking one thing and making it consistent. So if it's your lemon water, well, then you consistently do that for a year and see where you're at. The jumping around and stop-starting can be quite difficult to actually know what you're doing and what's working. Also, trying too many things in one go can be overwhelming because you don't really know what's working. So choose one or two things and implement it and be consistent at it. On my website, I have a transitioning to this lifestyle step. It's like 44 steps or something. And you start really slow and build in. Before you know it, a year's time, you've shifted so much. I didn't get to where I am overnight. It was a slow, I mean, I had to break down all of my previous nutrition training. I had to unlearn what I had learned. I had to unlearn what society told me to get to this place. You don't get there overnight. So small, steady consistency. Yes, the water you drink is vital. Structured water, clean of fluoride, is essential, because if you can't get the fluoride out, you won't be able to think freely. Your pineal gland will be calcified. It'll affect your entire hormonal system. It affects every single organ and gland in the body. So the first thing you need is a really good whole house water filter. If you're traveling, you just get a water filter for the drinking water. If you can get it, a whole house filter, because you're still taking water in when you shower and bath. So water filter, yes, alkaline foods, and crowd it out. So again, it's not about taking loads of stuff out, it's about crowding things in. So can you add in fruit? Can you add in more vegetables? Can you have a portion of your plate that's raw? You might have your meat and steak and vegetables, but can you have a raw salad on the side with no oil and salt? Can you just take the salt out of your cooked foods? You know, what step feels right for you, and then implement that consistently and then go to the next step. If you are taking a multiple of supplements and all these different fandal things, but you're not focusing on the ingredients in your food, you're throwing your money away. If a packaging has ingredients on it, it's not food. It's not. If the ingredients are more than apple, honey, like something simple, or you know, a list of fruits and vegetables, then it's not food. If there's ingredients that you can't understand, that you can't pronounce, that you don't know what they are, it's not food. It's that simple. This is not food. Just because it comes in a supermarket, not all. I mean, you know, there's like 2% of supermarket is food. The rest is poison. So start slow and steady. Put, you know, maybe you can't juice every morning. Maybe you got a load of kids around your feet and you're off to work. But maybe on a Saturday you could do a juice. And every Saturday morning you get up and do a green juice. Maybe that's a ritual you could do. You know?
Do you use cold pressed juice, or you centrifugal fridges?
It's always about keeping the enzymes in the food. So cold pressed juicing and drinking as soon as possible. Same thing with smoothie. I use a Vitamix smoothie. I use an Angel juicer. And I've actually just heard that the Vitamix has created a new vacuum, which vacuum blenders are brilliant because they vacuum out the air to stop the oxidization. What we tend to do is blend and eat quickly, not quickly, but, you know, we have it within half an hour. But the vacuum blend means that, you know, you're not losing as many enzymes. So I'm actually going to look into that for myself.
What about the NutriBullets?
The blade is not strong enough. So what it's doing is chopping everything up, removing and bruising everything. And then you don't actually keep all the nutrients. When it's a high speed blender, you're keeping more nutrients in it. saying that, when we go to England, we go to my mother-in-law's house, we use a NutriBullet. It's quick and easy to travel with. Like, we're never aiming for perfection. And again, I had many juicers before I got my Angel juicer, and I had many blenders before I got my Vitamix blender. Everything is a step. You do the best you can.
But you call it Angel juicer?
Angel, yeah. Champions as well.
Right?
Champions. I mean, I did a juice retreat once, and I asked everyone to bring their juicer in, because I thought, I'm going to be juicing for a lot of people. I need more than one juicer to cope with this. And I got the opportunity of using everybody's best. Oh, this is the best juicer. This is the best juicer. And at the end, I walked away and went, oh, the Angel and the Champion are the best of all of these different brands. There's an Omega, which is quite good again, but it was hard to clean. So I look at everything. I look at how easy is it to clean. The biggest thing for me, having a family, a raw vegan family with kids that eat more than most grown men, I do not want to make a juice that costs me a fortune. Whereas when I was using the Breville juices, I mean, I was getting through so much produce to get a little bit of juice. When you go to a cold press juicer, you have hardly any pulp at the end of it. It gets all of it out. And then that pulp I use to make my crackers or my wraps, or I put in some cookies. Like, I don't waste any, I can't afford to.
I know what I did want to ask you. You mentioned earlier about roast potatoes, that you don't cook them in oil. So yeah. I love roast potatoes. And normally I have them in oil, lots of oil, and crispy. So what would
it's a bit of a transition, isn't it? It's a bit of a transition. Yeah, Angel juices are expensive. I got mine secondhand from it's been on show. There are cheaper juices for sure, but again, it comes down to the produce. I got my money back for my Angel juicer when I realized how much produce I was saving. So that's sort of how I justified that, Helen.
That's Australian dollars. I just want to let people know, because we're going around the world. So that's Australian dollars. So yeah, that'd be 850 quid. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not cheap. They're not. But I mean, I use my juicer every day. I use my blender 4 or 5 times a day. It's an investment. I suppose people spend thousands of dollars on a Smeg oven, don't they? I mean, it's the same kind of thing. You get good tools. In regards to potatoes, yeah, I mean, ideally you want to steam your food, but if you do need to roast them, like, you know, we call them chippies, where we do sweet potato chippies in the oven for the kids, or when the kids' friends come. And how you do it is you just use lemon or orange juice and some spices like cumin or paprika or dill or thyme, and you make like a marinade, and you rub the potatoes on a tray, baking paper, rub the potatoes with the marinade. Say it's paprika and orange, or cumin and orange, or lemon and dill, or thyme and lemon, whatever it might be, as a nice sort of flavor. And then that adds sort of moisture to it so they don't dry out. And then what you do, low oven, slow, at 170 slow. And then you put another tray, like a baking tray full of water, in the oven, and that creates a steaming effect. And it stops them drying out. You have to get used to them. I mean, I love them now. I can't digest oil whatsoever. If I go somewhere and they've used, you know, if I go to a friend's house and she's used oil, like, my digestion is screwed for days. Like, I just can't digest it anymore. My body runs cleanly. But you do have to get used to it, because they're not crispy fried, you know, they're different. Yeah. On my Instagram and my group, I have lots of different oil-free recipes. If you're making a curry, let's say, and you'd put, or a curry or a soup or a casserole or anything like that, and you normally put oil and celery and garlic and onions and all different things like that, you just replace it with water. So you saute carrots and celery in water until they get soft, and then you would put all of your other ingredients in. Or you can make like, you can saute celery, carrots and coriander roots in some water, and then you can add in some pureed pumpkin and then a can of coconut milk and make like a beautiful curry mixture. There's ways of cooking oil-free. There's a chef called Chef CJ, She does amazing recipes. They're not raw, but amazing oil-free recipes. Oil, salt, and sugar-free. So it's SOS, salt, oil, sugar-free, SOS cooking. And she has, I mean, she's great. She gives away a lot. She's always got recipes. She does free things. Dr. Goldhammer does SOS-free recipes as well. Mastering Diabetes is SOS-free. They are brilliant, Mastering Diabetes. Really good for all different spectrum, you know, like the ones that want to be raw and high fruit versus the ones that just want to eat better plant food, like they're the whole range.
What about people with osteo and things like that, where they take hemp oil for their bones?
Well, CBD oil is different. If it's concentrated CBD oil, it's different to having, and if you speak to a proper CBD oil practitioner, they will tell you the difference between a hemp oil and a CBD oil. All oils. So it's a little bit like, oh, what about Himalayan salt? Or what about this? Like all oils, the hemp, the
Sesame,
pig eaten argan oil, whatever it is. It's the sesame oil, it's the avocado oil, whatever fad is coming out at the time. It's a process. I've seen how they make olive oil. They crush it, they let the oil come out, becomes rancid as soon as it hits the oxygen. I used to sell olive oil. I was an olive oil connoisseur. I used to taste olive oil like you would taste a wine. I used to sell it, to sell the best olive oil in the world. Like, you know, when you're in marketing, you can sell anything, right? You believe it.
Yeah, of course. Oh, I think we need to round it up, because I could talk to, like, health is the most topical subject that we all need to be much more aware of, and our digestion and what we're putting in our bodies, especially now, you know, with all the different things. And, you know, I know a lot of people have put things into their body that they wish they hadn't. So it's like learning how to detox and find the balance. So you've been an absolute gem. So I've really enjoyed learning more about my health and wellness. So yeah.
Well, just to finish on that note, that everyone needs to be detoxifying right now with the world that we live in. Choices that we make or not, if we're around different people or not, everybody needs to have a level of awareness of what they put in their body and make sure they're taking out. So with natural hygiene, it's not just what you put in, it's what you take out and how you take it out. And yeah, you know, I've studied a Vedic and Chinese herbs and medicine and nutrition, and I found this natural hygiene to be the most efficient for our body. And when we actually give our body this high minerals, high nutrients, we can achieve great things.
Brilliant. Have you written a cookbook?
I have a recipe book. Yeah, I do. It's got 90 recipes that are SOS free and grain free and food combined. Lots of sort of party food and different things as well. Because, you know, when people for years kept saying, have you got recipes? I'm like, I'll just chop up fruit or I'll make a smoothie. It's really simple. And I thought, people really want a recipe book. Okay, I'll make some fancy food.
Yeah. Oh. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and enlighten us even more. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I have to look on your website for more information and get some more healthy recipes going.
Yeah, I have a support group and yeah, Instagram. At the moment, I'm currently banned from Facebook. So if anybody reaches out, I can't comment yet, but I can comment on Messenger and on Instagram, and I have a Telegram thread as well. But if someone goes into my group and writes something, I'm so sorry, I can't respond right now.
What about email?
Yep, you can email me for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking your time, and wishing you all the best on your journey. And it's lovely seeing you again.
Thank you so much for your time as well. It's a pleasure.
Just stay in the show while we just
sure
move back to normal programming. Okay, so fantastic. Thank you very much, folks. 8:20 in Queensland, 9:20 here in New South Wales and Victoria. And what's it now? 20 past 12 and just gone past midday for you in the UK there, Andrena.
No, 11, isn't it? No.
11.
Yeah, so
Very good.
it's about 20 past 11. Yeah, 11:20 precisely.
All right. So you're going down High Street today in Glastonbury, and
Oh, I'm sure, yes.
okay. All right. Okay. Just stand by. Got a thanks there. Okay. Stand by.